It's been less than 100 years since the Wright brothers proved that humans can fly in a self-propelled airplane. In the years since, flying people and cargo from one place to another has become a major industry, and it's changed the way we live. Over the years, Hartsfield International Airport in Atlanta has become an important part of commercial aviation and of the Georgia economy. But if you go back to the beginning of the airport, it's a wonder Atlantans ever got off the ground in the first place. This is one busy place. The statistics are mind-boggling. Hartsfield Atlanta International Airport is the second busiest airport in the world. Nearly 60 million people flew in and out of Atlanta in 1995. Only Chicago's O'Hare Airport handles more passengers.
A great proportion of the passengers who actually come through the Atlanta airport are not coming to Atlanta. They're changing planes going to somewhere else. In fact, people say somewhat facetiously that if you're going to hell and you live in the southeast, you got to change planes in Atlanta.
More than 20 passenger airlines serve Atlanta. Delta Airlines has the most flights because Atlanta is Delta's home base. On any given day, more than 2,200 flights take off and land at Hartsfield. Airplanes fly to more than 150 destinations in this country and to 30 cities in 17 countries around the world. Why has this airport grown so big and so busy? To even begin to answer that question, you have to go back to the year 1909 and a cotton field 10 miles south of Atlanta. This was a time of daredevils and their flying machines. Orville and Wilbur Wright were still perfecting this thing called an airplane, and yet flying was catching on like wildfire in Atlanta. Even though their husbands disapproved, Atlanta women such as Erin Darden and Constance Draper took flying lessons on the sly. Automobiles, like airplanes, were also a novelty. Atlanta Coca-Cola tycoon Asa Griggs Candler turned 300 acres of cotton field near the village of Hapeville, 10 miles south of downtown Atlanta, into a racetrack. He put on popular automobile races and flying shows. But the novelty soon wore off, and Candler's Speedway was abandoned. But this dirt track would soon have another life.
Well, transportation is extremely important for the economy of an area, and most cities in the United States have been located because of transportation. Many because they had a fine harbor, for example, like in New York City, or they were a river port, like Savannah. Later on, we developed cities because of the railroads, and Atlanta, of course, is a railroad city.
Many thought aviation was just a fad. They said Atlanta was a railroad town, would always be a railroad town. Barnstorming pilot James Elliott urged Atlanta to build a municipal airport at the Candler Speedway. It was the only flat spot for miles around where an airplane could land safely, but few listened. Another pilot, Doug Davis, rented part of Asa Candler's racetrack and set up Atlanta's first flying service. He used the track as a runway. Well, after years of dickering whether to build an airport, the city of Atlanta finally bought Candler Speedway, calling it Candler Field. And in 1927, the federal government made Atlanta an airmail stop, kicking Atlanta aviation into high gear.
And Atlanta could have very well missed out being the regional hub to Birmingham. Some of it was a little luck. Some of it was that Atlanta did get on the federal mail route in the very earliest days.
That airmail contract made all the difference, and aviation quickly grew in Atlanta in the 1920s and 30s and 40s. A new air terminal built in 1948 was one of the largest in the country. Atlanta quickly became a major airline hub, just as it had been a railroad center.
This is the jet age, and the jet age has come to Atlanta.
Once again, Atlanta had the most modern airport in the country. and business grew in the 1960s, the 70s, and 80s. And all of that growth pumped billions of dollars into Atlanta and Georgia's economy.
But the transportation of people and goods is the essence of commerce. To buy and sell, you move something that I have to be something that you have and you pay me for it. That's basically what commerce is.
This airport brought in $7.8 billion to the city of Atlanta in 1994. In fact, the entire state benefited by more than $15 billion. More than that, this airport attracts business, brings companies into Georgia from around the country, from around the world.
For example, I was talking to one manufacturer, a German firm in LaGrange, and he said, in an hour, I can be on a plane to Frankfurt, Germany from here. Without that easy access to world markets and so forth, we would not have the opportunity to gain those types of firms here. We certainly wouldn't have the Olympics in Atlanta if we didn't have that world-class airport there.
Hartsfield is the largest single employer in the state. More than 38,000 people work here. Ticket agents, pilots, workers in shops and restaurants, and their paychecks add up to $1.7 billion each year.
Plus, of course, all those people who work directly at the airport, they're earning money. They need services, they need food, they need houses, they need all the other things. So there's what we call a multiplier effect. In other words, one job at the airport will generate other jobs out in the economy.
But no taxpayer money is used to run Hartsfield. Instead, the airport gets its operating revenue from landing fees, food concessions, parking fees, and rent. The airport acts like a giant mall, renting space to the airlines, rental car companies, and restaurants.
We're a big landlord. We operate a facility. There's a part of it that we operate, and that's the airfield that we take care of. And the rest of it, we rent out, either short-term or long-term, to businesses that feel that they can make money, and they pay us for the privilege of doing so.
Billions of dollars, millions of passengers, thousands of employees. It's hard to imagine all this came from a little grass strip years ago where the first air service left cans of gas outside for flyers to refuel, asking them to pay on the honor system.
Deep below the runways of the Hartsfield-Atlanta International Airport lie the headwaters of the Flint River.
About Georgia's economic history, we have more stories to tell, so we'll be back. This is Georgia Stories 2. I'm Colin Sedor. Thanks.